Hello, everyone. Welcome to another BDPA Tech and Career Talk. I am your National Tech and Career Talk leader, Devin Jenkins. I serve as a U.S. and Canada IT business partner for our commercial operations team at GE Healthcare. And I'm also the founder and CEO of Share the Vibes LLC. So glad to have you with us for another BDPA Tech and Career Talk. We've had an amazing run so far this year. If you're new to us, know we're live streaming this year. So if you're watching this on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, like, share, subscribe, share the live right now. Right now, click that share button, share it on your page, share it on your timeline, DM it to your friends, tell people to hop in here and join us for we have an amazing conversation. So glad to have you with us. If you're watching us now, let us know where you're joining us from in the comments. We always like to know who's with us. BDPA is national in its scope, so we definitely want to make sure we know who's in the room with us. So drop in the comments where you're joining from so we can know who's with us today. And we're excited to have you. Before we jump into today's conversation, I always do like to give a little bit of context on what BDPA is, what we're all about, as well as the Tech and Career Talk platform. So if you're new to us for whatever reason, you can know why you're here and what we're all about. Maybe you'll join us again. So BDPA was founded in 1975 as Black Data Processing Associates. The organization is primarily focused on building the African American talent pipeline in the technology industry. We have a primary focus on youth, so starting with middle and high school age students, teaching them computer programming skills, keeping them aware of emerging technologies and the skills needed to have careers in the technology industry. We also teach soft skills and give opportunities to develop on that side as well. And then additionally, we have focuses for collegiate and professional levels. So it doesn't just stop once you graduate high school. College students, there's a space for you and professionals. We continue to have forums and opportunities to expand our networks, expand our skill sets so that we can build the careers and have the paths that we want to have. So our mantra is advancing careers from the classroom to the boardroom. So we're all about what we've been doing for 51 years, and we want to keep it going for another 51. So thank you for joining us. These BDPA Tech and Career Talks takes place the second and fourth Friday of each month. They last 1 hour, 12 to 1 p.m. Eastern time. And we have a range of speakers. Some topics are super technology focused. There's thinking things like AI, cybersecurity. We talked about brain machine interaction before. Some are very soft skill focused. We talked about updating your LinkedIn and your resumes. We talked emotional intelligence. We've even talked about how to work with jerks. So we truly give you a range of topics and a range of speakers. So whether you're a student trying to figure out what you want to do in technology, you're a senior executive, or you're retired, just trying to have some good conversation, we bring you something so you can get value in what we're talking about, regardless of where you're at in your career. So glad to have you with us. Before we jump in, I do have to make sure that I remind you that registration is open for BDPA Con 26. We will be in Indianapolis, Indiana, July 15th through the 18th at the Hyatt Regency. So make sure you are there. Register now. I think a super early bird might be open. It might not be. I don't know if it got extended, but either way, go register and hop in there so you don't miss what we have going on. I know there's some amazing speakers lined up, amazing sessions. I think Indy has the Black Expo going on at the same time. So it's going to be a lot of energy there in Indy in July, and we don't want you to miss it. So make sure you're in the room with us. Go register right now so you can join us at BDPA Con 26. Additionally, when you get to BDPA Con, perhaps you're a business owner. Perhaps you have a technology business idea and you're in the early stages of that. You haven't raised 500K just yet. You're less than 5 years in the game with this thing, or less than 3 years in the game with this thing. We have an opportunity for you to come and pitch your businesses, pitch your ideas for BDPA and our From Idea to Lunch pitch competition. So, hey, register right now, scan that QR code, join us there, present your business ideas, present your early stage businesses so we can tag you in with our network of resources, mentors, coaches to put your business on the map and give you some additional tools to add to your toolkit to help you turn those ideas into fruitful and successful, sustainable businesses. So, hey, that's my spiel. That's all I got for you today. I'm going to get out of the way. I love when we have our friends at Vanguard Consulting Group with us. So I'm going to bring up someone who is no stranger to BDPA, Mr. Akil Bektimba, the CEO of Vanguard Consulting Group, LLC, to introduce our talk to us today and our esteemed speaker.
All right. Good morning, and welcome back to BDPA's Tech and Career Talk. I'm Akil Bektemba. I'm super excited always to be here. Thank you, Devin. Thank you, BDPA, for the opportunity to share and bring some of these really cool guests into the circle. Today's guest, I'm super excited about. I'm always excited, but I'm very excited about this one. Today's guest is Stephanie Knight. Stephanie Knight is the CEO of Mountain Plains Minority Supplier Development Council. That's a mouthful, but she started in Southern California, went to Northwestern University, moved around the country, and is now in Colorado leading the charge for the group. And I am so excited to bring her on. She doesn't just step into rooms. I want you guys to know this. She reconfigures them. She's not just creating access, she's creating infrastructure. And the difference between those two things is exactly what today's conversation is going to be all about. So Stephanie, thank you for being here. Come on in.
Hey, well, thank you so much, Akil, for having me. I'm excited to be with you today and been looking forward to this conversation. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're going to jump right into it.
Okay, let's do it.
I'm also from California. I know you grew up in Southern California, but you've kind of been all over the place. What brought you to Colorado?
Yeah, so before I do that, I don't like to start any kind of talk or presentation with an apology, but I do want to share with the audience that I'm going to be using my sexy voice today. I got a little rasp in my throat from a cold I've been nursing all week, so just bear with me if my voice gets a little scratchy or I sound a little nasally. But
we don't worry about that. We're excited about that, especially since the Usher and Chris Brown concert is going around the country. So, you know, sexy is, I guess, in right now. So come on with it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And they're coming to Denver, Empower Stadium. So I can't wait. Both of them together, they're going to kill it.
There you go.
But as you said, yeah, I had the opportunity to live in several different places in our country. And I did grow up and have my formative years. So I would say middle school to high school in Southern California. More specifically, we're in Orange County. So that's about, 30 to 45 minutes outside of Los Angeles. It's a suburb. And so very fortunate to grow up there, but definitely, really have lived on the East Coast and now in the Midwest and also in the South. So in terms of geography, I've just had an opportunity to touch a lot of folks that come from different backgrounds, that have navigated kind of different scenarios and systems within where they've lived, and been very, very, very fortunate to have really good education. Also, I'm a proud daughter of an executive, so that was definitely an interesting household to grow up in, as well as I had a non-working mom, so she did not work outside the home. That was also very unique. So really was fortunate as a child to have someone that was that captive and poured into us. I'm one of three. I'm dead middle. So okay. I am a natural mediator and negotiator. And I live that out more every day. Didn't think that that's what I was being really trained in my household, but I was. So I'm the consummate negotiator. So but
negotiator and problem solver and fixer. Yeah, we were talking about, I know we talked before, and we talked about what our superpowers are. And I think you just talked about it. Yours was developed organically, I see.
It was in the household. So, again, along with that skill, I remember my dad used to say, he's no longer with us, but he would say, if there is a lost soul, a lost puppy, or a lost cause, you're going to find him. And the only thing he would tell me is, just please stop dating them. And so I did realize that over the course of my dating life. It wasn't, I married my husband in my 20s. So we've been together 34 years. So I didn't do a lot of dating. But yeah, I have a heart for any individual that I think could use something that I have command over or access that I just avail them to any opportunity I can, because I believe ultimately we are on this earth to connect with each other and make things better for each other. And we all possess gifts and skills and abilities that can help that actualize for other individuals. And I think we should be very generous with those gifts and abilities. And I saw both of my parents model those in different ways. So that just lives inside me. It's my DNA. It's what drives me to nonprofit work and work that helps elevate and empower and encourage others. And I'm just, really fortunate to be able to do that in the capacities that I work in. Yeah.
That's exciting. I love that, and I love the intention around it. You know, looking into some of the things that you've done, and you went to Northwestern in
Yeah.
Evanston, Illinois, and you studied sociology. So not only did you get it organically, you actually studied sociology and organizational studies. So that obviously that interesting combination. Well, I'm curious that someone thinks, you know, what someone thinks about when they choose their major. You know, obviously I have college age kids.
Oh, yeah.
You work with a, you know, and when we think about, you know, what the foundation is, my oldest is completing she's getting ready to graduate in politics. People that know us feel like, okay, well, that was a natural thing from her dad, and how that developed. You talk about, you talk about your parents, and what were you trying to figure out in the world at that age, as you decided to go into those two different areas, or was it just a continuation of what you were already growing from the household?
Yeah, so that's interesting because I pursued Northwestern because I wanted to be a broadcast journalist. So I wanted to be the next Oprah Winfrey. I did a lot of speaking. I got a scholarship from a speech that I delivered in high school, and I was just starting to really groom myself for media and journalism. I did get accepted to Northwestern, and the journalism degree there is pretty rigid. It's strict Associated Press style. It's again, great discipline, but I felt a little constrained, to be honest.
Okay.
And it wasn't creative enough for me. So I did enjoy the piece about the journalistic integrity and grooming those skills of broadcasting, but I also found it somewhat confining. And so what happened organically because of who I am and how I like to move through the world is I jumped into Black student government on campus, and we were having an issue around tenure for our African American professors, and so I got involved on campus as an activist in that regard to bring attention and focus and voice to that disparity at Northwestern, and so it really pushed me down a path of a different discipline with sociology, which again is, human interactions as they show up in cultures and systems. And so again, when your gifts will always make space for you. So I think it played well to my gifts, that particular degree. And again, just organizational studies, knowing how things work, the systems, the larger systems that are at play, how we have to navigate them, how we can impact them, and more importantly, improve them. So I think that's what led me to, sociology and organizational management. And then I just started to, just sow my seeds in that direction. Yeah.
And we're building this, obviously building this journey of yours to where you are now. And from Northwestern, you went south, as you mentioned before. You've been around the country. You went south, and you became the first woman of color to lead the Better Business Bureau of South Alabama. So you talk about what was your motivation and how you got involved at Northwestern, and how that translated into as your life journey continued. You became this. What did working in the South? Now we're talking about Southern California, we're talking about Illinois, so Midwest. Now you're in the South. What did working in the South teach you about kind of economic exclusion and some of the, things that you couldn't have learned anywhere else, that obviously is building this person who you are now?
That's a great way to put it. There was no way that I could learn this in a textbook or through enough scenarios and not actually live it. So what I loved about the South is it's highly relational, right? There and there's also a lot of legacy families. There is a lot of pride in the South about the things that we've had to navigate and how we support each other in community. I will say the currency in the South is relationships. My son still lives there. I tell people he came to Colorado for a couple years during COVID because they were a little sketchy on the vaccine and all of that, our esteemed governor. But I told him, if you don't get here and get some shots, your mother's going to have a heart attack. And so he came. He did return back to the South where he resides now because his girlfriend has superpowers I don't have. And so
there you go.
he enjoys, he's an only child. So he really enjoys living there. And the young lady that he's with has a huge extended family. So all of her family, grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, all still reside in the same community where she grew up. And so he really likes that. And so, the currency being relationships in the South was, again, very comforting in a sense, because that's how I kind of built upon anything that I try to drive within community or business. And I love how people love to delineate and say business is not personal. It is absolutely 100% personal. It is everything and personal.
Yeah.
And so, high contrast to going to the South from Southern California. Southern California is, California on its own isn't just an economic engine. And there's good diversity in Los Angeles, in the Bay Area, some other key areas of that state. And again, economic diversity. So again, the drivers are what you can produce, what you can execute upon, and how you can, move products or services. In the South, it was more laid back. There are a lot of institutional legacy relationships that you have to navigate. And one thing that I figured out very quickly, and I was fortunate because my husband's family is from there as well, and they've all stayed there where he grew up, was you have to have an ambassador. You have to have someone that helps shepherd you in, build your credibility, and speaks well of you so that other people will embrace you. And I was there a long while hearing things like, oh, she's a Yankee, or you're, so sophisticated, or just all these little terms that I would hear for a while as I was navigating that, business space. But ultimately, I am who I am. I stand on my word and my actions. And those are things that resonate with people no matter what part of the country you are.
That's
we
right.
all want to be in the company and have exchanges with people who are authentic, that care, that deliver on their promises, and that make us feel good. Let's face it, at the end of the day, it's tough out here, especially in the business environment. So I just called upon, using a lot of women and men in the community that really saw who I was, knew what I was about, and were very comfortable in promoting me and creating pathways of opportunity. And I think that's really where Akil got rooted in how effective a relationship and ambassadorship and shepherding could be. And so I try to replicate that wherever I sit, in whatever, place or role that I'm in, for others. And it's a use of social capital, which we also talk about in diversity, equity, and inclusion work, which, those letters have been, those letters are scary for some to use and say out loud now, but it's very true. It's very akin to how we can drive inclusion and belonging. And so I really appreciate that I saw that in full form down South.
Yeah, and it's interesting because our paths are very similar, different routes, but very similar. I'm also from California. I grew up in the Bay Area, moved to Atlanta, so then went straight down south. Then in my journey, I lived in Chicago, I lived in New York, I lived in Charlotte, and these places. And so really share with you kind of the relational versus transactional approach to what we do. And the fact is, and I love that you said, and I hope that people are hearing, you got to have an ambassador. You got to have, there's somebody that's got to vouch, somebody's got to be able to, and that's how you build those relationships. You can actually be a local almost anywhere if you approach it the correct way. And I think in business, that is necessary, especially if you're not only doing business in your, contracted or distinct area. If you want to do business and cover areas outside of, and we'll get into the areas you cover, because all of that obviously comes into play there. But before we go there, I want to just kind of talk about this journey a little bit more and talk about after the South, then you ended up in Colorado, and you led the senior hub at Adams County, the City of Denver's Division of Small Business Opportunity, Colorado Inclusive Economy, and now MSDC. There's a lot of letters, so there's a lot of letters in there. There's just the beginning. Exactly. Yeah. So there's a pattern, I think, and we're seeing this develop in this conversation. That list is not accidental, right? And so there's a thread that connects all of it. And when did you realize that this specific work around economic access and equity was really your thing, and your kind of, this is your sweet spot?
Yeah. So I think, again, once I moved down south, with my husband, it was very sobering to know that not everybody had the opportunities that I had. Again, I was a child of an executive, very unique for a mother that stayed home, had a lot of discretionary time, was able to be there for all of our school things and sports things and extracurriculars. So that was a gift. And then also to have a father that was an executive that moved in rooms that most people never had access to. I mean, I've met president's kids of, Stater Brothers and, large grocery market chains, because he was an executive in the food industry. And so these people would, come to our home. We'd go to their home. We'd vacation with some of them. And so that was not the experience of a lot of people, certainly not people of color, but even a lot of people that are, not persons of color. That was not their experience in the orientation coming up. And so when I got down south, I realized that that was something that I really had access to and was really informed in terms of social capital and opportunity. And I didn't see that for everyone down south when I got there. And when I ran the small business bureau, I realized that our book of business didn't have good representation across. I mean, we're known, it's a strong organization for a lot of businesses like HVAC, plumbing, roofing, our bread and butter businesses and small businesses that have grown our country. But we didn't have good representation throughout our book of business in South Alabama for Black-owned businesses. And there's also, and I deal with this even today in my current capacity, is that a lot of times we don't know of some of the membership organizations, some of the trade associations, some of the networks that really exist to benefit from us. And they're not talked about in our homes, or they don't cross our paths in any ways through people we may touch. And we don't always know that they're for us, or they can be of benefit to us. And then we question about, paying for this or that. I just had a conversation recently with a young lady in my current role about, a certification in the membership of MSDC, which was the most challenging part of getting this job, was mastering all these acronyms.
There you go.
But yeah, when we, you should cross sample a good roster of different associations and memberships to find out, what could be fruitful for you in terms of networking, partnerships, coalition, and even thought leadership. Yes. For your business to evolve. And I just saw at the Better Business Bureau, some of these things were not being taught for our communities or cultivated. I remember when I started really outreaching, and I was fortunate to get a broadcast down there that was consumer segment driven. It was all around the, Obama phones and some scam work that was going down in that part of the country. But just by virtue of being on camera, doing segments, I availed the community to the opportunity of the BBB. I mean, again, a built-in directory, what I call power partners. Again, a distinction, which is that rating that draws business towards you if you know how to work it, that says you're credible, that you have certain processes and systems in place, and you do good business. That's what the BBB was all about, was doing good business and promoting good business. And so I knew in our community they were good businesses. They weren't, and they were Black owned or minority led, and they were not being recognized. So I just made it my part of my job and my journey to really usher in, opportunities for us, and to really explain and educate people on the BBB and the power of the network. So I think it's, again, Akil, it's a question of, we constantly need to have a little bit of discomfort, put ourselves in different situations around different folks. And because I've moved and migrated so many times, I go through reinvention probably every 5 to 7 years. So I don't shy away from new dynamics, new situations, new environments. But I found that there are longstanding relationships and familial ties in the South, which are very important. Again, it's part of the culture, but it can also get you a little stuck. It can get you can not be as adventurous as you need to be. You can not want to have discomfort that extends beyond your family unit or your network from high school or middle school or what have you. And that can do you a disservice for your business. It's a big, bold world out there. And you need to, tap as many resources and opportunities as you can, and you need to lead with that mindset. So I would always promote the BBB as an entry point, a way to have professional peers to use that designation and that A+ rating to market your business and shore it up. And then I would educate people on how to do that. So access is a big key. And it also was mirrored in the work that I did before. I've had a few twists and turns in Colorado, and we're going to get to that. But I also ran Colorado Inclusive Economy, and it was a membership-driven organization. It was DEI centric. We had multiple pathways of engagement with our corporate partners. And one of the things that we stressed and talked to the CEOs, because we only really dealt and marketed to senior and executive leadership, was about using their social capital. And many times I would have coffee dates or conversations with executives and tell them, because they're unknowing, this is so a part of their world, how they move, frat brothers or guys they ATV with or vacation with, and those social networks that come out of, in different forms is something they take for granted and they don't understand. And so then in turn, they have to be kind of schooled on how they can effectively use that to benefit others and bring them into the fold. And so I spent time there too, talking to executives about social capital, about not just mentorship, but about sponsorship, about putting your name on the line for somebody for their behalf professionally within your organization or outside of it. And so those are really important things that we have to continue to cultivate, drive, and encourage others to do, and also to a certain extent demonstrate how it's done when you didn't grow up in kind of that those environments where you saw that in full display like I did. Yeah.
I want folks to really get that, because what you're talking about is the cheat code. That is the thing. And one of the things that, I think about my own superpowers, it is around the people part and the building of the social capital piece. And one of the things that we, being that we have an audience of youth and students, you guys, please replay that part, because it is so important. And then I would also encourage you to go back to the April 10th session with Chantel Brumfield, where we talked about social capital heavy too. Social capital is going to be your key to anything that you want to accomplish in any industry, in any space, and you building that is really important. So I'm really, really glad that you talked about that in depth and how important it is to build that, and not only build it where you are currently, but around the country, outside of your comfort space and outside of those areas that you may have grown up or have lived. I was told a long time ago that in the United States, for you to get a full grasp of the United States and be fully connected, you should live and work on the West Coast, the Midwest, the East Coast, and down South, right? And so I've done that. You've done that.
I have.
And obviously that's helped to get us here. I do want to get one of the questions I saw in the chat here. It says it's from Noto Scott. Hopefully I said your name correctly. It says, how can we find those businesses or those business subsidizing networks? And are there any centralized resources?
So I love that question. It's a very thoughtful question. And, there is really no silver bullet. That is one organization that's just going to be a wellspring of social interaction or engagement and access to social capital. So, you can certainly start within, sector specific organizations, trade associations, chambers, again, those professional organizations that support a particular sector or industry. But apart from that, I think, I'm a big LinkedIner. I know when I started in executive leadership, I encouraged all my staff to have a profile, to be active on LinkedIn. That didn't, always go well, but over time, I think I wore them down. And plus we used it to give garner visibility for our agencies, right? Because we're
Mhm.
community based. And so LinkedIn is such a robust tool, and it's only gotten bigger. I think I've read a statistic not too long ago. There are 1 billion
Wow.
professionals on LinkedIn. So that is an inherent network right there. So you, again, as you start to cultivate your professional life and work within your sector, you want to look at connectivity with people that are thought leaders in your space, with people who are doing things you want to do, who
Mhm.
post things that resonate with you. You know, people are generous and kind. You know, you have to have a good professional approach. We do get oversold a lot, especially in executive leadership. But
Right.
if you lead with the heart and authenticity about what you're trying to do, people are pretty receptive. They want to see people thrive and they want to help cultivate others. So I say use your LinkedIn network. It's robust with, again, organizations, individuals, coalitions, causes and movements, and all sorts of things. So I spend, even at the executive level, and people are like, what you do? I spend easily 4 to 8 hours a week on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
I have found, vendors. I have found subject matter experts to use in our organizations. I have found businesses that I didn't know about that were unique and different from LinkedIn. And so I use it heavily. So once you start kind of navigating LinkedIn and identifying individuals that align with your goals, professional or personal, then you just start to sow seeds that there. And organically, a lot of these will lead to other individuals, right?
Yeah.
Or other organizations, again, because it's in the spirit of wanting to help and enable and equip. And I think I do something that I enjoy. I see that next question coming up in the chat about mentorship and sponsorship. You need both.
Mhm.
I make it a practice to mentor others in business and maintain a couple mentees, at any given time. And they're usually small businesses, and they're usually, led by persons of color that I mentor and
Mhm.
engage with. But you need mentorship because that helps, cultivate your skill sets and your acumen in certain areas. And it's also great to have a sounding board, get out of your own head, have someone that's a few steps ahead of you, or
Mhm.
sometimes somebody that is lateral to you but has had array of experiences that you haven't had and can pour into you in a different way. And really, it just helps for objectivity. Sponsorship is different. Sponsorship is really moving within an organization or a group that you participating in and kind of making yourself distinguishable, really
Mhm.
leading with your skill sets, allowing people to know what you drive, what you're into, how you move, and on some level soliciting their help and their assistance once they see your credibility, they see your acumen, they see your enthusiasm. That is a big thing. People want to have the energy of others that are purposeful and thoughtful. And so you want to proceed in be high energy. You want to honor your word if someone does connect with you and do those things, and that will
Mhm.
propel some level of sponsorship. It's
Yeah.
not as formal as, hey, could you recommend me for this, or tell your buddy that you golf with that I want to do this. It's,
Right.
I'm really seeking within my career to move in a different direction. And when I look at where I am 3 to 5 years in, or 5 to 7, I don't have a lot. I haven't garnered the opportunities at the level that I want. And so then you
Mhm.
can have constructive conversations with people about those opportunities you do want to garner, allow them to drive and say, hey, have you considered this? Have you thought about this? And then
Mhm.
again, there will emerge some potential sponsorship opportunities. Again, there's something that we practice when we had our small business of IT in Southern California, which is called Giver's Gain. And we led a chapter in San Bernardino County, about 60 business professional, or, it's kind of like a leads group. You can't have no more one printer or IT guy or banker.
Mhm. Mhm.
But within that, I learned so much. The principle of Giver's Gain, and there's a book called Giver's Gain, is, you want to lead with, what can I do for you? Right.
Right.
And at every level, somebody can drop into somebody else. And when you
Mhm.
distinguish yourself as an individual who is committed to helping another person beyond your immediate need or being transactional, it will
Yeah.
just really open up doors for you. And so that's another approach to sponsorship is, and again, I see that you're an active participant in Boys and Girls Club. I'm also a volunteer there. I really applaud your work. I hope that we can connect at some point again, when you go to the annual gala or anything, I know of other folks in the Boys and Girls Network that I think you need to meet. You lead with value. You lead with your skill set. You lead with your acumen. You lead with your energy and enthusiasm, and people will see you as enterprising and actionable, and they'll want to be a part of that. And that helps drive sponsorship. So when they think about a project or a business connection or an organization that they're a part of, they'll think of an enterprising young man or young woman that I met and that I want to help or facilitate additional touch points and opportunity with. And again, that could be projects, that could be roles, that could be boards. It's just so vast. You just never know. The other principle we learned in BNI, which is Business Networking International, which we started our own chapter as a small business in San Bernardino County, is that, people, you have something called power partners. And we were an IT shop and an IT firm. We never wanted to be product driven or have a storefront with, again, a lot of hardware on the shelves.
Right.
But we did want to have good power partners, within our network. So those were resellers, those were equipment, those were cablers, installers. That was a whole host of power partners that could cross refer and also had command of business relationships that you didn't have. But by virtue of being a partner with them, then you had access to some of their network. And you will never believe where business could come from. So, for example, we were in a chamber as an IT shop in Southern California, and we met an accountant, and so, it was a little dry and interesting individual, but he said, hey, do you guys know anything about, VPN and integration? And my husband's like, well, yes, of course we do. We can help in that area. And he's like, great, because I have a client, and every year, and it was a car dealership with five locations. Every year when I do their taxes, I dread it. There's papers everywhere. This guy's still the owner, still uses the shoebox to keep up with his receipts. Things are not digitized. This is in the mid-90s, and it's just a nightmare to do his taxes. I really am pushing him to get on some kind of system. Can you guys help him with that? And so this was a chamber member. He stayed after. We did a presentation. He just kind of felt us out, and then he made a connection. That was our most lucrative contract. It was 5 dealerships across multiple counties, and they also had a Vespa dealership. It was family-owned, Hispanic-owned, and we were golden to them. We came in and we helped them refine their systems and process, had a service agreement, and it was really the anchor to our business on the revenue side. So you never know where opportunities are coming from. Show up as your best self in every exchange you can. Be knowledgeable. Have your 30-second commercial on lock, so that people know what you do and what you drive and how you actualize, and then it will just start to create opportunity. And I know that was a mouthful.
Yeah. No, these are all jewels. I'm glad. Listen, this is what this is for, and this is what it is about. So, and also why, I was so excited to have a conversation with you, because you are a wealth of information. And these things I think are actionable and absolutely can be applied immediately. So I want folks to really, hopefully you're taking notes and you're getting all of this. If you can, as Devin said, make sure you watch the replay, because there's more. I want to jump into, you've led organizations that were different in sector, different in geography, different in scale, obviously. And now you've stepped into the CEO role at a real inflection point. How are you defining this chapter? And is the definition yours or one you inherited, or are you still figuring it out? Are you still negotiating with it?
Yeah, no. Well, I would equate this organization with a home, right? A home with great bones that was in a good neighborhood, but really went through some periods where it didn't have the repair and love and nurturing that it needed, right? And so, again, it sits there very prominent in the community and people know about it, but again, it's been a little bit unattended to. And so I would say that's the place that I've stepped in with this organization, and it's transpiring at the affiliate level, which we have 23 within the network of the Minority Supplier Development Ecosystem. And then we also have a new CEO at the helm at the MSDC, which is our national or our parent affiliate, parent organization. And so new leadership there, executive leadership and CEO, which is driving, a different mindset, a different kind of business infrastructure goals. We're actively working through KPIs as a national organization and with each affiliate as an integrated process. So I would say that I've kind of stepped into a home that wasn't taken care of, had the good bones and, some beautiful wood and some other unique features, but again, not being showcased at the level that they should. And so I'm a leader that, works within community and visible, accessible, want to touch and know folks, want to hear from them. And so before I took this role, there were a series of stakeholder convenings to talk about where the Mountain Plains Minority Supplier Development Council was and where it wasn't, how it wasn't delivering on the value proposition for corporate members as well as MBEs, so minority business enterprises. And I had to take all that in, and I had to listen to that, and I had to start crafting my strategic plan around that. And so again, leadership can't shy away from issues or maybe some bad commentary or some, we are in a state really with community where we didn't deliver, and there was a lot of wound there. And so you can't shy away from that. You have to lean into it. It doesn't feel good, but at the end of the day, people want to be heard. They want to be validated in their concerns. And then they want to know at the end of the day, what are you going to do about it? So then I get busy to that point, but I did the same exercise with my staff, and I heard everybody out and had to make some really strategic and some challenging decisions around staff. So where we're going now with my Mountain Plains Minority Supplier Development Council, we just call it the council. And for the purpose of this discussion and with all the letters, I'm just going to default to the council.
That'll be easy for me too.
All right, good deal. Yes, please feel free to use it.
Thank you.
But where we are with the council is, again, I started to really look at where we needed to have some market growth. And so I started to recruit talent in our other markets. So that being Nebraska, Kansas, and Missouri, to really shore up those markets, because Colorado carries the largest number of MBEs through our membership roster. And we also kind of done the most events and things in this footprint. So I really saw a need to expand out. And also, again, with the feedback from the stakeholder convenings, they just didn't feel like they had a lot of love in our other markets. And that's a problem. And so started there, really recruiting and hiring talent and putting that in place. And then I spent almost a full quarter, just probably about 3 months, with my team, hearing them out, understanding the history around the organization, the former leadership, some things that weren't working well and some things that they really wanted to get back to, and some things they thought would be good and new to service our MBEs. But at the end of the day, in my analysis, and I did offboard an entire team in Colorado, again, not easy to do, but you have to really have people around that are in a willing mindset. And they're in a growth mindset, and they want to embrace change, because it's one thing to hear problems and to be sensitive and empathetic to what has transpired and maybe where an organization is not, but are you really committed to be part of the solutioning? And there's a great book that talks about everything you need to know about an employee, in 90 days. And I believe that. And because I've been in leadership so long now, I think I probably can see it in 60 days. But long story short, and I'm trained in behavior also from my healthcare background, but long story short, if the conversations and the intentionality with a team or with a staff are not of willing and embracing of change, then you have your decision has been made. I think, people give away where they really are. And sometimes it's not malicious, but it comes from a place of burnout or just, fortifying yourself and trying all over again so many times and it not being fruitful. There are just a lot of dynamics that transpire in organizations. But at the end of the day, you have to call what it is.
Yeah.
You have to be honest with folks. And then you have to put, processes and policies in place that are really going to drive an organization forward. And I can't do this work without the willing. It's well known in movements and momentum building that you start with the willing. You don't start trying to convert folks to drive movements, especially if you want them to have momentum. They're,
Right.
you look at some of our largest organizations, initiatives, and, mission-driven work, and they started with people that saw a problem, had a heart for the problem, were affected by the problem, and wanted to change the problem. And so you have to apply that same type of philosophy in your organization. So that was a huge change. It was pretty public because, again, we kind of turned over staff and we actually did turn over staff in this footprint, and not everybody's going to be happy and thrilled about that. And
Right.
also, you can also get, kind of casted as, oh, well, she just wanted a fresh new crew and, shiny penny syndrome or whatever it is.
Right.
And, that was a lot of work to thoughtfully, assess where people are, have constructive dialogue with them, and then, of course, start to avail yourself to new talent and place that talent. So that's not an easy process. I don't do it indiscriminately. It came with a lot of thought. But at the end of the day, the organizations are larger than Stephanie Knight. They're larger than any one team member. We're here to serve community. And if we're not showing up in our best selves with that willingness of heart and spirit, then you just shouldn't work in this organization. And that's okay. It doesn't mean you're not talented. It doesn't mean you're not right. But it just means this is not the place for you right now. And so I've had that thrust upon me as a professional. My tenure with the city was pretty short, and that was a little bit painful. But again, at the end of the day, I was there for a season, and then I had to move on. So I'm driving a lot of change within the organization. A high sensitivity to responsiveness, good communication that goes back out to the stakeholders, responsiveness. And at the end of the day, people, our MBEs and our corporate partners come to us because they want to provide contract opportunities and business opportunities to minority owned businesses. And that's our charge. We were birthed out of corporate America 53 years ago. I can see Don Craven's face, our CEO, as he tells this story around the country, by corporate America to have a solution for them to access for supplier diversity and a directory and an organization to go to fill that need. And so we need to stay true to our essence of what we are. We are also in a place, as I said earlier, we're driving key performance indicators or KPIs across the org. So each affiliate will own KPIs, and our parent, the national organization, will own KPIs. And again, we have to have this. We have to have this to drive accountability for our MBEs and our corporate partners. And we have to have it, more importantly, to distill down which activities are really impactful or important to our mission and the work of the people we engage, which is MBEs and corporate members. And so that's been missing for a while. That'll give us the bones and the structure that we need to drive activity with intention, and also to really push on our corporate members, since they created us and founded us and wanted this organization to be a resource for their supplier diversity needs. They also have to have some accountability on their side, which will live in the KPIs, like a scorecard or a commitment to spend, year-over-year spend, disclosure of their spend and how they do business with minority organizations. So we have to push on them. It goes both ways, right? To deliver for us, because that will improve what we're doing on the MBU side as we certify businesses and educate them and provide professional development about them actualizing these contract opportunities. But corporations have to do their part as well.
Absolutely. Just for the audience, I want to make sure that we talk about the council. We talked a lot about what's happened and what the development has been in Colorado. Talk about the other states that you cover. little bit.
Yeah, that's cute. I see the comment in the chat. Will you be my mentor? That's
Yeah.
I feel honored, and we can talk offline.
Hit her on LinkedIn.
Yeah, that's right. I'm sorry. Could you refresh the question? I got lost in the chat.
I wanted to just share a little bit, or have you share a little bit about the other states and the other areas that you cover outside of Colorado, so that we, you know, the audience can get our group here can get a full breadth of what the council covers. And then yeah.
Yeah, so the council covers 4 states. So we're in Colorado, we're in Kansas, we're in Western Missouri, and we're in Nebraska. And again, there are some great hubs of activity that are bubbling up for entrepreneurs in those footprints, incubators and apex accelerators, all things that we need to really be a part of and have an active presence around. And so again, we hope to engage minority businesses in all of those footprints. And one of my town halls in Colorado, and it was, it was a thoughtful question, and it took me back a little bit. The gentleman knew of me from the city. He was an MBE business, and he said, this all sounds great, and I love the town hall and your strategic goals. But Stephanie, you can't be everywhere. Let's face it.
Right.
I said, you're absolutely right. I cannot. And I want to keep my marriage on top of that. So this is 4 states, and that's a lot of geography, a lot of travel. So again, with the strategic hires and talent that we put in place, they were people that were walking amongst community. They were building coalitions. They were MBEs in their own right, some of our staff persons. And so they have a command of these areas. They know the infrastructure, the players, the boots on the ground, if you will, to help us ramp up strategically and be effective. And so that's how we're going to penetrate other markets. And then again, I'm going to commit face time to each market. Because it's important for people to see the leadership, for them to have good access to me. I'm highly accessible by text, phone, LinkedIn, email. And I'm very responsive. I pride myself, my husband's like, you and these crazy standards of returning emails at 3 a.m, but I want people to know that I hear them and see them. And I try to get back to everybody within 24 to 48 hours. I just do. As a practice, I appreciate when I get that responsiveness, and I want to give that responsiveness back. And so we're growing through our markets. They're different and unique in terms of their needs, each one, but we're really just trying to understand, listen, and identify where we can be instrumental in connecting and driving professional development and contract opportunities. So May 14th, we will host our first summer summit. We strategically picked Kansas City because a lot of folks can drop in from Nebraska or Missouri. It's pretty central and it's good access. We're being hosted by J.E. Dunn, which is a construction company that has contract opportunities to offer. And so it's going to be a really productive and constructive day of learning and networking and office hours. All my team will be available for one-on-ones and questions about certification, about contracting, proposal writing, capability statements, all the things, and have some one-on-one interactions, which I think are important to couple with a network event like this. So so those are some of the things we're doing strategically. Yeah.
I love that. And I also love, and I think that, what resonates also with me in your approach is that there is not a one size fits all. You're not just blanketing your whole area of influence with just one idea or one approach. You're actually being specific and intentional about each one of the areas that you guys serve, the different states, the 4 states, and making sure that you're covering them and touching them a little bit differently. And it goes back to the beginning of our conversation about having ambassadors in those spaces and being able to connect in those spaces and really be able to affect change and influence there. We're closing up pretty quick here, but I want to ask you just to kind of this question here. What does the next 1 to 3 years look like for the council? I'm going to say the council just to make it easy for myself under your leadership, and particularly, the version that excites and motivates you in the best, most exciting possible way.
Yeah, well, what's in store for the council the next 1 to 3 years? We really want to increase our number of certified MBEs. We want to focus on MBE to MBE spend. That's also something that
Mhm.
our national president, Don Craven, talked about. I mean, we've got a lot of dollars within the network to transact business. Yes, corporate members are great in that regard as well, but we've got, $20 billion. I mean, WWT is in our network. We have
Mhm.
really multi-million dollar and billion-dollar entities that are MBEs that people need to really focus and lead with transacting business,
Yes.
and build and shore up that community as well. So that's a focus. I'm also, again, I'm a mom of a Gen Zer. So, of course, I care about pipeline opportunities for the next generation.
Absolutely. Mhm.
Solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, making sure that they do get access, that they have sponsorship opportunities, mentorship opportunities, and good education and professional development around business fundamentals. Again, just this week, I talked to one of my team members about leased vehicles. And again,
Mhm.
additional write-offs that you can actualize in your business that we don't always talk about, that are, again, part of table conversations in other communities. And I
Yes.
need to deliver information like that that's practical and actionable, versus the next purchase, which ownership is important. But right
Mhm.
now, we're in a dynamic where if I could get a lease a little bit cheaper and write some of it off for a business expense, that's better on my bottom line. Also, things like home ownership, which I know in a lot of
Mhm.
parts of the country, home ownership has become out of bounds. In Colorado, the average home is about $600,000. That's
Wow.
expensive. Our rents for a one bedroom, one bath have around 1,900. That's not
Yeah.
cheap.
No.
So, but you can purchase property or garner assets in other parts of the country. They're good for leverage
Mhm.
for your business. You can pull lines of credit out. There's a lot of things you can do with it. So starting to educate, especially our young entrepreneurs and solopreneurs, about why you want to do these things, of course, for your home and for your family, but they're also business tools. They're tools to leverage. They're asset building. They also position you for other types of funding. And so just educating people about things like that and making, we're offered up our space. That's another thing. We have a 2,000 square foot office that's underutilized with a small team. I want community coming in there. I want it to be a
Right.
hub. I want people to cross pollinate and talk to each other and, find common ground. And we're going to start to strategically, with our new director of ops, talk about unique, either Saturday or evening things that we can do there that bring people
Mhm.
together that are purposeful. Like, hey, let's all sit here for an hour and come up with a pitch deck, or help you refine your 30-second commercial, or
Mhm.
again, exchange, as I said, power partners. These are people in your network you need to know that would be complementary to your business and can cross refer. So things like that really model what we want to see business be and create a place for that to happen. So those are things that are on deck for me in the 1 to
I
3
love it.
years. Yeah, and so I got a lot of work to do, Akil.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you're not shy. You don't shy away from hard work, and you don't definitely shy away from the challenge. So, really, really appreciate that and what you bring to the table. This I think that there's much more conversation to be had, and I would love to rejoin you again on this platform and talk about some updates and see what's going on in the future. But I want to give you the last word. I know you mentioned May 14th event in Kansas City. Are there any other updates or shout outs you want to give before we close up?
Yeah, definitely. So our next webinar, we have two webinars coming up on April 28th. One is our launch our launch pad, which is about really how you can utilize your certification launch pad. So that's hosted by one of our team members in Kansas, but it's, of course, it's a webinar, it's virtual, it's accessible to everyone, so it's good information. And then we're really excited to engage a partner on the federal level, which is the VIP program, which is, again, veteran owned, or those veterans that are pursuing, wanting to be business owners, and the
Mhm.
robustness of contracts that exist for veterans owned businesses, and as well as access to this VIP program, which is just a phenomenal program that I've just learned more and more about. And just also sending the message there are still opportunities under this administration. I know this landscape is tough and challenging. There's been a lot of executive orders and dialing back and all the things, but there are still some very lucrative opportunities within the federal government. If you know how to position yourself, you understand how it works, and that you have something that the federal government is looking for in key sectors like import, export, manufacturing, and some other areas. So both hosted our webinars, accessible to everybody, free, April 28th, and there's going to be a wealth of information shared. So I encourage everybody to tune in and explore.
Fantastic, fantastic. Well, you heard what she said. Reach out on LinkedIn. Definitely join in these things. And one of the things to expand the areas that you live in is to jump on as many of these virtual opportunities as you can. I know I've done that, and it's been very, very edifying for me as well. So thank you, Devin. Thank you, Stephanie, for your time and your energy and all the information and insight that you provided us today. I really, really love the conversation. Thank you, BDPA. And I think we're good.
Thank you so much. I enjoyed it.
Thank you both for being with us today. Always a pleasure having you on, Akil. To our esteemed guest, Stephanie, thank you for all the insights you shared with us today. And we look forward to having you in the BDPA family going forward. Once you're here, you're stuck with us. So glad to have you.
Right. All right.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
joining us today. So to everyone, hope you enjoyed today's BDPA Tech and Career Talk. This has been a great one. Again, if you're watching this, regardless of where you're watching this at, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, like, share, comment below. Let us know what you thought about the conversation, and share this with someone who needs to hear it, because you know someone who needs to hear the conversation. So, hey, we'll be back May 8th with another great speaker. We'll be talking about translating between business, engineering, and market value. So, like I say, range of topics across this platform. So make sure you're with us. Be on the lookout for that flyer dropping soon. And until next time, stay safe and stay blessed. We'll see you soon.